Hey, welcome to Sports Unfolded NHL Ranking Show. I am your host, Eric, with my main man over there, Ron. How are you?
I am locked and loaded.
Locked and loaded. We've got a lot to discuss with this list. As usual, the list came out on Tuesday. So it's been a couple days to let people kind of, let it sink in a little bit.
Fester
And
and really boil down deep in their guts.
yeah, so as usual, you know how you like to create that controversy a little bit, but we'll bring up that list real quick and then we can discuss how
I'm
we get
just a
to.
realist, Eric. It's on them if they're upset about it.
Got it, my friend. So at number 10, we have the Colorado Avalanche making an appearance finally on this list. That's been a while for the defending champions here. Seattle Kraken at 9, the Tampa Bay Lightning fall to 8, the New York Rangers fall to 7, Winnipeg Jets at 6, Dallas Stars move up to 5, New Jersey Devils at 4, Toronto Maple Leafs at 3, Carolina Hurricanes at 2, and the Boston Bruins, as expected, remaining at number 1. I will ask you this, Ron. I guess the biggest questions of Vegas Golden Knights not being on this list,
I told you it was going to be.
and
Look, and
so
I came prepared to let them know what the deal is. Okay, they had a 16-2 start. 16-2, arguably the best team in the league at that moment. And I
yeah,
believe we even had them at number 1. Since then, Eric, 13, 15, and 2. How in anyone's right mind think that this is a top 10 team right now?
I get it. I get it. You know how fans can be, and what they see versus what we are at, and that's why we try to explain it. So I guess we've got to get right into this list, and let's talk about that number 10 team, and that's the Colorado Avalanche, who finally get on this list 26, 17, and 3, playing some great hockey now, finally back healthy, it looks like. 12, 8, and 3 at home, 14, 9, and 0 on the road, 144 goals for, 126 goals against, so a plus 18. 7 and 3 in their last 10. They were on a 6-game winning streak. So that kind of put them on this list. Last
Yes.
3 wins against Vancouver, Seattle, and Washington. Next 3 games, Anaheim, St. Louis, and then at Pittsburgh. So really good opportunity for this team to continue this winning streak. What's been the turnaround for the Colorado Avalanche?
Well, like you said, Eric, it is maybe health. I mean, you're looking at a team that went deep into the playoffs, obviously winning the Stanley Cup, played a lot of hockey, and you know they experienced a Stanley Cup hangover at the beginning, which most teams do, and Tampa Bay was the same way the last few years. Um, but when they're all healthy, this team is certainly the most dangerous team out there. I don't care what anybody says. This team is going to be top 5 by the end of the year.
All right, we talked about
And
McKinnon's back. Nathan McKinnon's back now.
yes,
He was injured for a bit. Leads the team in assists with 39. He's a plus 17, which also leads the team. So you know his importance to being on the ice.
yeah.
And then Mikko Rantanen leads the
Hey,
team in
wow.
points.
Hey, that's pretty good.
I'm trying, buddy. I'm trying to practice my hockey lingo. 58 points, so 32 goals, 26 assists. He's been a big contributor
Oh,
as
he's
well.
been outstanding. He's carried this team throughout the injuries. And when you're missing guys like McKinnon, and Lehkonen, I believe, was out for a little bit, and Makar missed a few games.
Yeah, he's day to day now, Makar.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're looking at Rantanen 5th in goals, 10th in points. He's really, really brought this team along, and he's such a good hockey player. Uh, and when you look at this team, and we talked about them like they were chopped liver all season, right? It's like they were in you know top 10
Yeah, yeah.
all season pretty much. I mean, there was one week where they made some noise, but really they were discarded, an afterthought. But I look at this team and you see 3 guys that average over a point a game. They're going to score a goal.
Yeah.
They're going to score. Rantanen, McKinnon, Makar, all over a point per game pace. I don't see that ending anytime soon. This is talent.
Yep,
This is
that's their foundation, right? That's what they're going to build on. And even with some losses after the Stanley Cup,
thing is you look at the Edmonton Oilers with their top two guys, but this is different. These guys not only put up the points, but they also stop the points. These guys are good hockey players, especially McKinnon, McCarr. They clean up their own end. You know, that's fabulous. And when you get a guy that can score goals, that can play two ways, I mean, really, there's only a couple of guys out there that can do that.
yeah,
And
and I think, listen, Alexander Georgiev, Georgiev,
Georgiev,
Georgiev, 19, 11, and 3, 2.62 goals against, and a 919 save percentage.
right?
He's starting to improve as well. That was one of the concerns. Could they, be able to
Yep,
replace, last season's goaltender and still come back and be a winning hockey
right.
club? And you're seeing it now. You're starting to see, like you said, the 6-game winning streak's pretty impressive. Thinking about some of the top teams in this league, again, Boston right now is on a 6-game win streak. So if they can continue, a solid pace here, they're right back in the race.
Absolutely. I mean, 25, 17, and 3 going into, Tuesday, when we made the list.
Yep.
And that's better than what you could think of with all the injuries and the layover from the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, that is pretty impressive. And if they're only going to start playing better from here on out, look out 1 through 9.
Yeah, and if you want to, like you said, the comparison, they won 6 straight versus what the Golden Knights have kind of been very inconsistent.
Yeah, I have Vegas at number 14 right now. They're just continuing to drop. When you go 1-2 every week, this is what you got to expect. They have a losing record since that start. That's not a top 10 team. Sorry.
No, I get it. I get it. So an exciting young team here, the Seattle Kraken, 28, 14, and 5 coming at number 9. 12, 9, and 3 at home, 16, 5, and 2 on the road. So playing very well when it comes to, being on the road in hostile arenas. It's 172 goals for, 145 goals against, a plus 27, 7-2, and 1 in their last 10.
Yeah.
They've won their last game. They did have a good week here where they beat New Jersey, who's, again, ahead of them on this list. They lost to Colorado, which kind of helped Colorado definitely get on, and then beat Vancouver. This week, Calgary, Columbus, and the New York Islanders at New York, their next 3 games. They getting contributions from everybody, it seems, on this team. Andre Burakovsky, 39 points, leads the team. Jared McCann, 23 goals, leads the team. Jordan Embry, 27 assists, leads the team. So it's not one guy dominating.
Yeah,
it's
and you're looking at these names, Eric. They're not household names. They're not household names. And everybody is contributing in some way. Everybody's filling their role. And it's made everybody better. We touched on it last week with the centers. Them making the players better, especially Matty Beniers. He's having an outstanding season.
Number 1 scoring rookie in points.
Absolutely.
So far this season.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe if he's not going to be Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and he's 3rd on the team alone in points. So you think about what he means to the Seattle Kraken,
and a plus. That plus, rookies with a plus, on ice. That's impressive. Because let's face it, rookies. The first thing that they develop is their offensive skills. But they are really poor defensively in most cases. Matty Beniers has just been a stud.
Yeah, no, it's
to
pretty
put
impressive.
it bluntly.
And then the goaltending, Martin Jones, 23, 6, and 3, 2.78 goals against. It has to improve on that save percentage in 8.96. But you think about where this team was last year, kind of the expectation, again, expansion franchise. We talked about it last week a little bit, but they've got a nice nucleus here that could, make some noise. I mean, obviously they're not near those top tier teams yet, but again, in the Western Conference, they have an opportunity here to really advance in the playoffs.
Right. Yeah, and it's strength up the middle. I mean, we talk about, their centers like we did last week, but the strength of the middle is what's doing it for them as a whole because that defensive core, first Larson and Dunn, uh, together, those guys, 13 goals, 45 assists. Um, Larson's a plus 31, third in the league in plus minus, and Dunn is plus 28, fourth in the league. I mean, this is their backbone. And guys like Soucy, Schultz, Borgen, and Oleziak round out their defensive core. They're all playing well. And when you get a defense that clears it out, you know, yeah, they're not going to be, super offensive, but they're doing the right things at the right times and they're making all the necessary plays to get it out of their end and then into the attacking zone.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing.
Listen, and goals for they're the second highest on this team behind the Bruins.
Yeah.
So they've scored the most goals out of these top 10 teams, right?
It's
so
crazy.
Again, like you say, they may not be household names. They're all contributing.
They are a scrappy team.
This is probably one of the, if we say it's a team effort, this is probably the one team on this list that you could say it's
Absolutely.
Look, it's a little bit of everybody.
And like I said, I gave a lot of credit to Ron Francis. That guy knows how to judge talent. He's making all the right moves, and it shows in the play of each and every player on the team. They're all in that never give up attitude. You put 100% effort in, and that's what the results are going to be.
So let's talk about Tampa Bay here at 8. 30, 15, and 1. This one was a little bit of a controversy as well. Some people thought they should have been higher on the list. 18, 4, and 1 at home. 12 and 11 on the road, which was surprising to me. 167 goals for, 137 against, which is a plus 30. 6 and 4 in their last 10. They won their last game. But they did have some bad losses this week. Edmonton and Calgary, both losses, and then they beat Minnesota. Tough matchup tonight. Boston at home, then the Kings, and then at Florida. What's been the struggle here with Tampa Bay? How they keep kind of moving up and down this list. I think all season we've had them as high, I believe, as like 4, and kind of now down to 8.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna pick on one guy in particular. I'm not saying it is his fault solely, but Victor Hedman is not the Victor Hedman we know. He's got 2 goals, 29 assists, good numbers, plus 13. So it's not that he's a negative to the team. It's just that you expect more from Victor Hedman. I mean, those aren't Norris Trophy numbers. And when you're not getting Norris Trophy numbers from your top guy, that's going to hurt a little. And I think that's what's hurting the team. And of course, Vasilevsky didn't have a good start. So, we're thinking that he's, by the end of the season, he's going to be up there, but he's not yet. So when you look at those two things, I think that's a big part of why they're not there yet. And again, they played a lot of hockey the last 3 seasons. A lot of hockey.
A lot of wear and tear.
It is.
Kucherov has been, phenomenal for them. 68 points, 19 goals, 49 assists. And then Stamkos is I believe he scored his 500th goal in the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
And what he's meant to that organization, he's leading. He's second in points at 55, 24 goals, 31 assists. So they're getting some guys. To your point, Hedman is probably that third peg on that team that really needs to be,
they're lucky
place.
Sergachev has stepped up, because if he didn't, they'd be in trouble. And, hopefully that, Sergachev can stay this good for this team. And if they get, Victor Hedman back into a groove, I think this team could be very dangerous. And, when you got guys on this team that know how to win, when you hit those playoffs, it's a new season.
Yeah, it's all 0-0-0 at that point.
That's right. Look, I wouldn't want to be the team that plays them in the first round.
Yeah. Big test
Toronto.
tonight, right? To see where they're at as well, right? With against Boston.
Yeah,
And you know Boston right now is the team. So
right.
will they want to make a statement and say, hey, look, we're still the top dog in the East?
I know they want to.
Yeah. Can they? That'll be the question.
That's right. It is. Can they muster up, all that energy that it's going to take to beat a Bruins team? Look, you have to play for 60 minutes to beat them.
Yeah. So at number 7, it's the New York Rangers, 26, 14, and 8. 12, 9, and 4 at home, 14 and 5, 14, 5, and 4 on the road. 153 goals for, 128 goals against, a plus 25. 6, 2, and 2 in their last 10. They lost their last game. And this week they lost to Boston, won at Florida, and lost to Toronto. Golden Knights, Calgary, and Vancouver, the next 3. This is an interesting team because the expectation is that they're going to be a force for years to come,
Right.
right? They were very young
Yep.
and kind of came through. I, I think this is another one of those goaltending situations, like you said, with Vasilevsky. Shesterkin, the same thing, started off slow. He's the guy that's going to make this team go. He revs the engine. If he's playing, onto the top of his head and spinning and doing everything he needs to do, this team's going to be successful. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
you.
20. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
He's,
Finish.
he's 21, 8, and 7, 2.46 goals against, and a 918 save percentage, which sounds really good. But it's the way he started, I think, kind of set them back a
Right.
little bit.
Right. Yeah, and frankly, when you look at this team, you have Shesterkin between the pipes. You have Adam Fox at the blue line, and Ryan Lindgren is playing, incredible hockey. Like he's a plus 20. He's got no goals but 13 assists. He's the guy that is going to be covering when Adam Fox moves up, on an offensive attack. So he's going to be that stay-at-home guy. But at a plus 20, that is incredible. So it isn't defensively that has been the issue. I think it's more of the timing of their goals. Um, obviously Kreider, he's not on that, super pace that he was on last year, but he does have 19 goals, and I would expect him to get to 40, which is still pretty great. So Zabinajad has 22. That's not the problem. The problem is a lot of the other guys aren't chipping in with those goals that they did last season. And, you have Panarin with 12, Trocheck with 13. That's all well and good, but there's nobody else that's scoring on this team with any kind of consistency, and that's not a good thing. That's bad for this team.
Yeah, again, you've got a guy in the pipes that can shut down teams, but if you're not scoring, giving up 1 or 2 goals could cost you. And unfortunately, I think that's where the Rangers are right now. They just don't have the sustainability to say, look, we're going to put up 3 to 4 goals. Based on what you're seeing from some of the guys that are, in what they've scored so far. I mean, again, these guys can't turn it around, though. I think Kreider, to your point, will get, another 20 plus goals and become that guy that maybe, ends up taking some of the pressure off Panarin, who's, the top points.
Yeah, they need more from some of the other wingers on this team that just aren't scoring right now. And that's big. That's big. Like Lafreniere's got 6 goals. The numbers when you look at them, they're not bad. 6 goals, 16 assists, plus 6. That's not bad. It's just not enough.
Yeah.
And if they do get some scoring, which I would think that they're going to go after in the trade deadline.
Yeah.
They're going to want another winger, and if they score, say a very talented player, like a Patrick Kane, that
Things.
solves a lot of problems, right?
Yeah. Yep, get you a guy that you can count on for what I mean, a
So
couple goals.
the Patrick Kane sweepstakes are going to be important for several teams. I think this team in Carolina, whichever one gets Patrick Kane, is generally going to probably be the team that comes out.
Gotcha. What about the Winnipeg Jets, Ron? Sixth on this list, 31-17-1, 17-6 at home, 14-11-1 on the road, 160 goals for, 128 goals against, a plus 32 on the season. 6-4 in their last 10. They lost their last game. They had wins against Ottawa and Philadelphia and lost to Nashville. Next three games, Buffalo, Philadelphia, and St. Louis, all at home. So that bodes well for them. Play very well at home. A lot of different guys on this team. Again, when we talk about players that have stepped up, Kyle Connor,
Yeah.
57 points.
What a season he's having.
24 goals, 33 assists. Cole Perfetti, another rookie, that he's second in points with 29 points on the season. He's a plus 11, which leads the team. So you talk about that plus minus again. Here's another rookie.
Yeah, and he's been outstanding. If it wasn't for Beniers, this guy would be the front runner, for rookie of the year. Like they're getting it from everywhere on this team, and you mentioned that. But there's also, Pierre-Luc Dubois with 21 goals. He's having a nice season. Blake Wheeler, 12 goals, 22 assists. This coming off of him getting stripped of his captaincy. I mean, this is a guy that didn't take that, to heart. He just said, "Okay, I must be better," and here he is, having a good season, +5. He's contributing. Adam Lowry contributing as well. I mean, this team doesn't have too many holes. Shifley, of course, with 29 goals. I mean, there's a lot of balance on this team, and they're getting it from everywhere on this lineup, and it's nothing short of amazing what they're accomplishing. This is to me the slightly more expensive version of Seattle, slightly more, if that's the way I want to categorize it.
So if you're going to order something from Amazon, Seattle crack another Wish.
Yeah,
that and
right.
not disrespectful way, but
that's a good analogy.
Yeah,
I mean that's where you're at. Seattle, up and coming, and they put this team together. It's almost like an analytical kind of team. They just go by the analytics of everything, and that's what you get. They look for a certain thing, and that player comes in. Winnipeg kind of grew into that team chemistry, and they had a very rough season last year, and they're showing what they're supposed to be this year.
And then we talk about Hellebuck, the job he's doing, 23, 13 and 1, 2.38 goals against, a 925 save percentage. That's very impressive. So
it is.
He's definitely been one of those key guys this season when it comes to goaltending. He's been one of the top 3 goal tenders in the league. So
absolutely,
when you're getting that kind of play in the pipes, and the guys in front of you are all contributing and creating points, I mean that's important. How dangerous is this team when it comes to the Western Conference?
Look, I mean, this is a big deal. All right, you have the goaltender in the pipes. You have a balanced attack and some really good hard checking grinders at that. And then you have a guy, Josh Morrissey, who's making a case for Norris Trophy already. I mean, you have all the pieces in place. There isn't anybody that is doing a bad job. Like when your worst players are just a -1, that's pretty good because every team has holes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Some kind of hole.
I mean, who do you go after and replace? If you go out and get a goal scorer, well, who drops down? You're going to ruin that chemistry? I don't know. I can see this team probably going after a defenseman to shore up, make the depth better, and probably a bottom 6 winger. that's probably where Winnipeg is going to be at because they don't want to mess around with too much. They're having a good year. Why mess with it, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. So we're into the top five, and there's only one Western Conference team in the top five, and that's the Dallas Stars. They come in at
Yes, but there's
28.
now 4 in the top 10 though.
Yes, I noticed that. 28, 13, and 9, 13, 5, and 5 at home, 15, 8, and 4 on the road, 171 goals for, 130 goals given up, a plus 41. So that's very impressive. 5, 2, and 3 in their last 10, though. Lost the last two games. So they won at Arizona, then lost to Buffalo and Carolina this week. Next three games, New Jersey, Anaheim, and Minnesota, all at home. We've talked about Jason Robinson and what he's meant to this team. And I wanted to put the comparison out there for you. Is he's probably the second most important player on a team right now versus David Pastrnak with the Boston Bruins. If you look at the amount of points and everybody else on this team and where they're at kind of from a point standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, he's having such a great year. But I still look at Joe Pavelski in the middle. I mean,
33
what
assists and a
yeah,
plus
what he's been
32.
able to do as well. I think Pavelski is the cog on that line that seems to be the one that makes it go. Now Robertson is taking it to another level, but I think Pavelski is the one that's getting him there. And you look at those veterans on the team, like Jamie Benn, another one, and Tyler Sagan. Those guys, they put up their points. But Robertson has just taken that and he's blossoming into an elite goal scorer right now. And I mean, he's on a 1.32 point per game pace. That's phenomenal. I mean, what more could you want, than a guy that just takes off? And that's going to put Dallas in the conversation for a cup contender.
Yeah,
Because
again,
they have that guy.
And they have the goaltender.
And they have the
And
goaltender.
we saw what he did last season in the playoffs. And Jake Ottinger still continues to shine. 21, 7, and 6, a 2.24 goals against, a 9.24 save percentage. So he's doing well. Another rookie on this team. When you talk about success in some of these teams, you got it. Wyatt Johnson is 13th on this team. 13 goals, 6th on the team in goals.
Yeah.
On a team that's actually in in the number one spot in the Western Conference.
Right.
When you can get some of the veterans that are stepping up, like you said, at Jason Robinson, who's taking it to another level, and then you get a rookie that can come in there and actually contribute and put points in there for you, that's an important, winning combination that could help them in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, if they're a defenseman away, if they had Klingberg still, they'd be a defenseman away, right? If they can go out and shore up that defense, and get a guy that can really take charge back there, I think that would be what they want to do. And maybe a role player, like a fourth liner for depth for a winger. Like this team is a contender right now. You have the goaltending, you have enough punch, that you can do some damage, and having that defenseman, another defenseman back there would probably be what I would expect them to do.
No, very interesting team. Again, only team in the top 5 in the Western Conference currently. So we'll see. I know our West Coast.
Look, I see only two teams capable of beating Colorado when it's all said and done. Dallas and Winnipeg are those two teams. I don't see any other team that can do it.
You heard it here first. So this has been a team that, when we talk about just baffling to think about where they keep. First of all, nobody expected them to be this good, right? 31, 12, and 4. And they struggled for a bit. We really thought they were going to drop off this list. They weren't playing good hockey. And here they come now. They've turned it around again and are, again, one of those most dominant teams. 13, 10, and 2 at home. 18, 2, and 2 on the road run. When you talk about
unbelievable,
right? What an amazing, and for a young team. Goals for 164 goals, 123 goals against, a plus 41, 8-1-1 in their last 10. They're on a 2-game winning streak. They lost to Seattle, but then beat Pittsburgh and beat the Golden Knights. We talked about that Golden Knights matchup last week and how important, right? When we talk about the Western Conference, this is why the Eastern Conference has been so far ahead so far this season. Next 3, though, on the road. So how beneficial is that to them? At Nashville, at Dallas, and then Vancouver at home. That Dallas game is going to be very interesting to watch for
Yes,
us.
that's going to be the game to watch for the week, because you're looking at two teams going in the same direction, and that is up. And I mean, when you look at this New Jersey team, they could have folded their tents and gone home after that losing streak, right? And you got to give the credit where credit is due. I mean, first in coaching, and then you look at the players on the team, like Tomas Tatar, who actually leads the team in plus minus plus 27, right? And also you got to look at Andre Palat. He knows how to win. Coming from Tampa Bay, he knows how to win, right? Just those two guys. I keep touching on those two guys that they've changed the um the locker
the
room
culture, right? Yeah, that culture
that culture. It's like, yeah, we have a lot of talent, but we can't win games. Well, that is no longer. But then it takes more than that, right? And you have to look at Dougie Hamilton, what he has done. I mean, Dougie Hamilton, 13 goals, 29 assists, plus 14. He's added stabilization to that defensive core. And we can talk all the problems that Dougie Hamilton has had, in his past, career, sticking with teams. It kind of wears out his welcome or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not in that locker room, but what he has done, for this New Jersey team is really, it's been a turnaround on that defense. And that has been, the biggest key is that defense. And he's gotten Siegenthaler to play well, all those guys. And I give, the credit to these veterans on the team that have changed that culture in the locker room, minus the coaching staff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that look, if you have a guy in your locker room that can talk to the team and bury any kind of controversy or chaos that is now spawning from these losing streaks, and then you rally and then you change the direction. That is what championship teams are. And I'll tell you, this New Jersey team is making a case for us to look at who is the better team in that division.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Look, you didn't even mention Jack Hughes, who's got the 60 points, right? 30 goals, 30 assists. And then, then Vanecek.
Oh, Vanecek, yeah.
Right? The job he's doing, right? 25-2, 2.30 goals against, and a 9.16 save percentage. So they're getting it from the goaltending. To your point, I think having that veteran leadership, because when they were down, I think we had a week where they were like 2, 3, and 5 in a week for the last 10. You don't quote me on that exact number. I know it was kind of low.
It was pretty bad.
And we were like, okay, they're done. Like, this is it. They're finally coming back. The reality, the slipper fell off.
Yep.
They're no longer Cinderella. You know what I mean? And Glass Shoe still fits, because here they are again. And we're looking at them as a top contending team. They're in the top 5. They got great coaching because they got them out of that rut. The veteran presence that has kind of lifted this team up and said, look, we can be a contender.
Right.
You're seeing it, which is nice to see.
Yeah. I mean, look, that Metropolitan Division is a tough division. I mean, you have Carolina, you have the Rangers, you have the Devils. And that's the thing. They are making a case where you have to say, hey, we are here and we're here to stay. And we actually have a younger team than you guys. So we're going to be around for a long time. You're going to have to deal with us. And then you're looking at the two teams that kind of got replaced in all of this, Pittsburgh and Washington. One of those teams aren't going to make the playoffs.
This is why hockey's so great.
It
And
is.
and as a fan of hockey, when I look at it, the NFL, we've got the playoffs, and you start to look at some of the teams, and they usually those teams that are there every year.
Yeah.
It's pretty consistent. With hockey, and I know Tampa Bay went on that nice run, but you start to see that a lot of
Can
these
change on a
teams,
dime.
yeah, there's a lot of teams that we wouldn't even be thinking about. We've talked about teams when we did our NHL preview show that we thought were going to be in here. Pittsburgh being one, Ottawa, Nashville, the talent they picked up, right? Columbus, and look at where they are. And then you look like at a team like New Jersey, who we were like giving no shot to. And what a remarkable season they've had. Seattle, who nobody expected to be a top 10 team.
No.
And here they are. So,
like
and
we had talked before at the beginning of the season during this preseason game that New Jersey is a couple of years away. Well, guess what?
that time machine, we got Marty McFly in the building. He kind of jumped forward a little bit and said, look,
I guess so.
Yeah, it's 2023.
So.
They're ready. And again, look at they're ahead of teams with Tampa Bay, the Rangers, right? These are teams that we expected to be a top 5 team all year.
Yeah.
And they're ahead of them right now. So it's what a great story coming out of New Jersey.
Yeah.
Fans there got to be happy.
New Jersey might be the team that keeps the Rangers out of the top 5 at the end of the year.
And unreal. Let's talk about these Toronto Maple Leafs. 30, 11, and 8, 19, 3, and 4 at home, 11, 8, and 4 on the road. 166 goals for, 129 goals against, a plus 37 on the season. 7, 2, and 1 in their last 10. They're on a 2-game winning streak. They lost to Montreal and then beat the Islanders and the Rangers.
Yeah, this is a funny situation because I kind of penalized that they went 3-0 and 1 for a week. Good week, right? As compared to almost all the teams with those losses in regulation.
This is a Montreal thing. It's a Montreal thing.
The problem is you lost to a team that you should have beaten.
You have a thing with Montreal, and you automatically, that's like 3 losses to you.
You got penalized because you lost to Montreal. You don't lose to them.
That's a 3 loss. That's a 3 loss for you.
That's what it is. But
this
they got
week,
penalized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. It's a bad loss. Big game this week. So they Ottawa, then Washington, and then Boston at home.
Did they beat the Rangers last night?
Yes. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. This is an interesting team too. We talk about it, but they've got 3 guys scored over 50 points so far this season. And that, Nylander, Marner, I'm sorry, and Matthews. So they've got a wealth of talent when it comes to the scoring. They're getting good goaltending. What's the issue with the Toronto Maple Leafs? Why are we not talking about them as a top, the number 1 contender? What's holding them back?
They were number 2 last week.
Yeah, they dropped the spot because of losing to Montreal.
Yeah, pretty much. But it was because they're, it is because they lost to Montreal.
But can this team legitimately contend for a cup? When we talk about the Eastern Conference is extremely difficult. And to me, I mean, they've got the points. They got guys that can make points, get points, and put the 26 goals, Nylander, Matthews 25, who's having an off year considering what he did last season, and yet still could score 50 goals.
To me, the proof is in the pudding, right? I mean, yes, okay, they're the number 3 team this week, and they might very well finish in the top 5 this year. They might very well do that. The problem is, once those playoffs come, where does the team go? Does it disappear? Or do they play like they've played this year so far?
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting. And I think
again, Eric, we talk about how streaky they are. There's going to be weeks where they lose like 3 in a row for a week. And that seems to be the problem. They're up and down, all over the place. And I don't know. I don't know if they can be a true cup contender.
Here's
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it yet until I see it.
two guys in the pipes right now, Samsonov and Murray. Both of them are having a very good season.
So far, yeah.
Samsonov 16-4-2, 2.20 goals against a 9.21 save
Yeah,
percentage.
he's second in the league.
Right. So when you look
He's
at
second in
if
the league.
you can get the goaltending, they've got guys that create some problems for defenses. That's the key to Toronto. The
It
problem
is.
is their talent going to outweigh Carolina and Boston when it matters the most? And then you still got to throw a New Jersey in there, who's going to be difficult, or the
Well,
Rangers and
I
Tampa
mean,
Bay.
if the playoffs started now, they'd have to play Tampa Bay. Who are you picking?
Yeah, and that's a tough call. Yeah, I'd probably go Tampa Bay based on the experience.
Right. And this is the problem that they have. Now, you know, if they fall to third, say Tampa Bay catches them, then they got to go to Tampa Bay to play them. And that's a big problem because Tampa Bay is a different team at home than
Yeah,
they are away right now.
much different team.
So I honestly would see that series go in 7 games, and anything can happen in Game 7.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about those Carolina Hurricanes. I know this is a team that you're extremely high on. 39-8, 14-5-2 at home, 16-4-6 on the road. 154 goals for, 126 goals against, a plus 28. 5-3-2 in their last 10, so they're not having a good stretch here. They have won their last 3, though. They beat Minnesota, right, the Islanders, and the Dallas Stars. Next 3, San Jose, Boston, and the Kings at home. This team, to me, the most interesting thing is, as when I was looking at these numbers, is the goaltending. Because Kucherov, but then Antti Rattanen and Frederik Andersen have all played. They're all playing. They're playing all these guys, and all these guys are contributing. So it's like they don't have a goaltender that you just say, look,
Anderson just coming back from an injury. So, he's probably going to be, in the rotation. I think Rantanen will probably be the odd man out because Kochetkov is playing so well.
And think about it, 11-2-3 right now.
Yeah.
Rantanen, like he's having a good year.
Yeah, and go figure, right? And you know how we mentioned Seattle, that strength up the middle? That's what this is. This is the elite strength up the middle, though. I mean, this is elite. I mean, these aren't, guys that you've never heard of, for the most part anyway. But when you look at that middle, obviously the goaltending, they don't have a problem. They have 3 guys that they can go to, and it doesn't matter who they put in. They're gonna get great goaltending.
It just impressed me when it came to that. But
right.
Go ahead.
And then you talk about their defense. Their top 4 defensemen are playing just absolutely outstanding. I'm going to butcher his name because there's too many consonants in his name. But Sky, Pesci, Slavin, and Chatfield are all playing well. They're all playing well. Very solid defense in front of the net. So they know what they're doing in front of their own net. And then you're looking at those center icemen again. Aho, who hasn't even played his best hockey yet.
Yeah, I was just going to say he's second on the team in points now. But when we talked about him early in the year, it was kind of like he's catching up now.
Yeah. And Natchez is having a great season. Jarvis and Jordan Stahl has been that's the guy that stops the other team's top line, right? He's the guy. Like when you want to know why the Bruins lost last season to Carolina in the first round, it was Stahl playing against the Bergeron line. When you can hold that Bergeron line down, that's saying something, and he can do that to the best in the league. And that's what this team can do. It can stifle any kind of consistent attack, and and it just keeps the puck out of the net.
So the big injury, Max Pacioretty, who was a free agent signing, done for the season.
Yeah.
Does that affect this team? Does that make them or force them to go out and try to get a guy in free in a
well,
trade
they'll
deadline?
try to go get somebody now, because
and
now all of that cap space that he took up is going to be pushed aside, so they can come in. Look,
This is that Patrick
now,
Kane, right? Is this the one this
now
is your
they
number
can,
one pick for Patrick
yeah,
Kane?
they can actually go out and either get Kane or Horvat and not even have to worry because they can fit him in the cap. Other teams will have to do some finagling.
Does that propel them ahead of the Boston Bruins?
I think so, yeah.
It's kind of crazy to think about.
Depending on what the Bruins do too.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
because if
Absolutely.
you're talking about Kane and Horvat, and say they get Kane, the Bruins get Horvat, kind of it washes out, and then we have to wait and see what happens with these two teams when they play, if they play,
If.
if
Right?
they play.
If. So let's talk about that number one team, the Boston Bruins. I know this is obviously very exciting for you this season and what they've been able to do as a Bruins fan. 38, 5, and 4. I think they've
Yeah,
already broken some NHL records for the like quickest
yeah,
to so many
yeah.
wins. 22, 1 and 3 at home, 16, 4 and 1 on the road, 181 goals for, 98 goals against. Still haven't given up 100 goals on the season. A plus 83, 9, 1 and 0 in their last 10. They're on a 6-game winning streak. They beat in
Now
the
they're a
Rangers.
plus 83, Eric.
It's
Right? Put
ridiculous.
this in perspective. The
It's ridiculous.
second place team is more than doubled.
Yeah. I just, it's unreal what we're talking about right now, the season they're having.
The numbers are just
But
unbelievable.
this is going to be a week for them. This is the week.
Yes.
This is the week. So they've beaten the Rangers, San Jose, Montreal. Most of them they should have won. But then at Tampa Bay tonight, at Florida, and then at Carolina.
It's a tough
That
stretch.
Carolina, if you're circling something on your calendar as an NHL fan, watch that game. Because that is a preview for the Eastern Conference Finals, if I've ever seen one, because both of these teams are going to want to prove something that night.
Both those teams are going to be up for that game. And you don't think the Bruins want to get back at them for the loss.
Yeah. And even the Tampa game, Boston right now is going to want to say, look, we're big brother, right? This is our show right now. There is no other, person that's going to step in our place.
Yeah.
So
it's like, so you have Vasilevsky. Well, we have Omar, who's the best goalie in the league right now.
Ridiculous. His numbers. Ridiculous. 25, 2 and 1, a 1.82 goals against, and a 938 save percentage. And he broke an NHL record, the fastest goalie to win 25 games in a season. And then you get your backup, Jeremy Swayman.
Yeah,
who's
there's no
12,
layoff.
3 and 3 with a 2.25 goals against, and then one.
Yeah, he's fourth in the league in goals against.
It's just ridiculous. So this is where I wanted to really have a conversation, though. David Pastrnak, the amazing season he's having, it's going to kind of hurt them because it's we said it last week, the Aaron Judge situation now, where they're going to have to pay this guy more than they wanted to. But 69 points, 37 goals, 32 assists. The next closest guy in goals is Patrice Bergeron at 18. So you're looking at a 19 goal difference. And then Marchand, 45 points, is your second in points on this team. He is just completely
And he missed
dominating.
a lot of time, too. So.
Yeah, but he's dominating Pastrnak when it comes to – there's one guy right now that's running this ship and making sure that this team
right now he's MVP.
Win, right? So –
it's not even close to me in my book.
What does Boston do to kind of get some of these other guys that have to start? Look, in the playoffs, teams are going to start to
they're
focus
plus
on
83. What more can they do? What more can they do?
No, what I'm saying, my concern would be this, Ron. In the playoffs, that defensively, they're going to try to stop Pastrnak at that point. They're going to say, this is your one guy. This is your guy.
Good luck.
Who's those guys, though, that are going to be the next wave that are going to step up for the Boston Bruins?
When DeBrusque comes back, he's going to go on that Bergeron line. So Bergeron, Marchand, and DeBrusque on one line is just unfair to be, a line without Pastrnak. And then you have Krejci, Pastrnak, and it doesn't even matter who you put on that wing, whether it's Hall or Zacha. Doesn't matter. You can put anything over there at the other wing, and they're gonna just accidentally get points, and that's the thing. It doesn't even stop there, because then, which is right now, they have Coyle, Frederick, and Hall, a former MVP, on your third line. It's almost unfair at this point. And then you're talking the defense, like, when your worst defenseman is a plus minus in the double digits, your worst defenseman, worst. That's incredible. I mean, it's the numbers are just laughable. It's laughable. It's utter ridiculous. And I mean, it can't stay like this, right? And every time when
We keep
they
saying
keep
it's not gonna.
touting
Yeah,
it,
yeah. Here they are,
like
6 games
we're
straight
looking
again.
at this next 3 games, right? This is a tough stretch. You know, you got to play 3 good teams, and make no mistake, Florida's still a good team. They have Matthew Tkachuk there. You know, they're a good team. They're just far down on the list right now because
They
there's a
haven't
lot
been
of good teams
consistent at
right
all.
now.
Yeah, they haven't been consistent this season.
So so that's the thing that you have to do. I mean, you got to stop them somehow. And good luck.
Yeah.
Good
So
luck.
again, record pace, but how important is that versus playoffs and playoff victories at this point? Because this organization, if you think of it from top to bottom, they've been able to build this up, and then they got the right coaching for it.
Yeah, so I got people pounding on the studio doors. It's ridiculous over here. It's like chaos. Chaos. It must be all those Vegas fans.
Yes, they're coming to get you. They're coming to get you. So let me bring this list up real quick,
Yep.
and we can just discuss that again at. Come on. At number 10, the Colorado Avalanche finally make the list. The Seattle Kraken at 9, Tampa Bay Lightning at 8, New York Rangers at 7, at 6, the Winnipeg Jets, at 5, the Dallas Stars, 4, the New Jersey Devils, 3, the Toronto Maple Leafs, 2, Carolina Hurricanes, and at number 1, I think other than 1 week in this entire season, they've been the number 1 team.
Yeah, I think Vegas was number 1 for a little bit.
Yeah. So
a hot minute.
We've seen some movement. We've seen Tampa Bay slowly drop down this list. Colorado move into this list. Are there some teams that we should be looking at maybe next week as being on this list?
There's always some teams. Minnesota's the team that dropped out of the top 10. That's a team that can still get in there. We still have Washington and Pittsburgh, even though Pittsburgh is way down right now. I have them at number 17 right now. But don't ever count out that team. That team's got too much talent, and they have some goaltending. Look, that's a team that can be reckoned with. And Edmonton coming off a good week. They went 3-0. They're starting to win some games now, but again, consistency with that defense. We'll wait and see. But I would look at Minnesota probably to get back in, maybe Washington. I think one of those two teams. I don't see any other team right now that's playing with any kind of consistency that can get in there. And that includes Vegas.
So what about it? So who's the team that should be most concerned about dropping off?
I'd look at Seattle, to be honest with you. I worry for them because they don't have that star player.
Yeah.
And that could leave them vulnerable to some slumps.
It's going to be an interesting week. Some big games this week. Looking forward to those. That Carolina Boston matchup, and then we talked about the Dallas New Jersey matchup.
You can also throw the Rangers in there because they did lose this week already. So they lost to Toronto. So
yeah.
So the Rangers should be scared.
Yeah, at number 7, right? That not the realm of possibility. And they got the Golden Knights, Calgary, and Vancouver this week. So again,
2 tough teams.
Yeah. So, Ron, I want to thank you again for all your hockey insight. Always a pleasure doing these shows and what you've been able to bring to Sports Unfolded when it comes to the NHL. We normally do our Sports Unfolded show every Friday night at 6 p.m. So tomorrow night, tune in. We are so excited. We're going to talk some NFL playoff action. We're going to talk about this Boston Bruins and the run they're on right now. Even some baseball news. We've got Baseball Hall of Fame, and I know that's going to be a touchy subject for us as well. And then the Boston Celtics. So we try to cover most of our local teams.
They need to really give us some voting.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. But we've argued about this in the past, and we disagree on the steroid era. And
I understand that, but I mean, come on, really? Only Scott Rowland?
I got some arguments for that though this week tomorrow night. So please stay tuned for that. We're gonna do a very special 50 with 50. So goals scorers who have scored at least 50 goals in a season. Ron's gonna break those down. We're gonna be doing that this week as well. So excited to look at that and how Ron got to his list. And there may be a surprise at number one. Maybe, probably not. But this has been NHL Ranking Show. Again, tune in tomorrow night, every Friday night, 6 p.m., only on Rhode Island Broadcasting on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Looking so forward to tomorrow night's show, Ron. Can't wait to do this all again next week. Every Tuesday, NHL Rankings. We got the All-Star break coming up as well. So
Next weekend, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be exciting to talk about.
I suppose.
So, Ron, I will see you tomorrow night, 6 p.m., my friend. You take care, and all we have asked for is peace on earth.
Have a great day.